BBC News at 6 o'clock. This is Susan Ray. Good evening. The Brexit Party has said it's ready to fight a general election after stunning its established rivals by winning the most seats in the European elections. John McDonnell and other senior Labour figures have responded to their party's poor showing by demanding that Jeremy Corbyn commit to holding a referendum on any Brexit deal. The Conservatives plunged to their worst electoral performance since 1832, raising expectations that they'll choose a no-deal Brexiteer as their next leader to combat the rise of Nigel Farage. The Scottish Nationalists are pressed for another independence vote in the second half of next year after a big increase in their share of the vote. Across the rest of the EU, the centre-right and centre-left parties, which have dominated European politics for years, suffered at the hands of populists, socialists and Greens. One other headline. Aston Villa are in line for a £170 million jackpot after winning promotion to the Premier League. Nigel Farage has said the Brexit Party is on course for further stunning results in British politics following its victory in elections to the European Parliament. Launched only a matter of weeks ago, it emerged as the largest party, winning 29 seats and 32% of the vote. The Liberal Democrats, who campaigned on an anti-Brexit platform, also enjoyed a surge in support, securing 16 seats and a 20% share to finish in second place. But there were dramatic losses for the Conservatives, who recorded their worst election results since the 19th century. Support for Labour also fell sharply, raising new questions about Jeremy Corbyn's current strategy on Brexit. Our first report tonight comes from our assistant political editor, Norman Smith.
Nigel Farage's victory and the devastating blows inflicted on the two main parties point to a country still profoundly divided by Brexit. The collapse in the Labour and Conservative vote, reduced to 14% and 9% respectively, would suggest the scope for any compromise, middle ground Brexit has all but collapsed. Last night, Mr Farage's 6-week-old Brexit party stormed to victory in every region in England, apart from London, as well as coming first in Wales. It prompted Mr Farage to demand his party be given a role in the Brexit negotiations and to warn they'd stand candidates in every seat at the next election if Britain didn't leave the EU by October the 31st.
Our primary goal is to get this country to be independent and self-governing. If that doesn't happen, and if we don't leave on the 31st of October, then what you will see is the Brexit Party stunning everybody at the next general election.
Tory Brexiteers were quick to insist Mr Farage's victory meant the next Conservative leader had to back no deal. Most of those aspiring for that job, however, chose to keep their heads down today. In a tweet, Jeremy Hunt said the party was now facing an existential threat. Boris Johnson said they'd been given a final warning. Sajid Javid announced he was entering the contest, but only Michael Gove appeared in front of the microphones.
Well, these are disappointing results for the Conservative Party. There's no disguising that. And one message is clear from these results. We absolutely need to deliver Brexit. I led the campaign to take Britain out of the European Union, and we must honour that referendum result.
Labour too, however, is also facing huge pressure to ditch its current Brexit strategy after hemorrhaging votes to smaller Remain parties, including losing to the Liberal Democrats in Jeremy Corbyn's Islington. It prompted immediate demands from a flurry of leading shadow cabinet members for Mr Corbyn to explicitly back another referendum, including this call from his close colleague, the Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell.
Of course we want a general election, but realistically, after last night, there aren't many Tory MPs that are going to vote for a general election. It'll be like turkeys voting for Christmas. So our best way of doing that, I think, is going back to the people in a referendum, and I think that's what our members want.
So are you saying then it's a referendum under any circumstances, that's the only way through now?
I think it is, yeah.
Mr Corbyn, however, sounded reluctant, for now at least, to heed such calls.
We're consulting all our members and all our affiliates and listening to the views of MPs and members of the Shadow Cabinet after last night's election result. The country is very divided and the country has to come together. There has to be an agreement with the European Union and there then has to be a public vote.
Meanwhile, the Lib Dem leader Sir Vince Cable, whose party came second, said support for the Remain parties showed a majority of the electorate now opposed leaving the EU, and that the Lib Dems had benefited from their clear, unambiguous opposition to Brexit.
Taken together with the local government election results a few weeks ago, we're clearly now a major national force again. And our next big task is to work with other people in other parties who are like-minded, initially to stop Britain crashing out of the European Union by accident.
3 years on from the EU referendum, for all the political turmoil over Brexit, it seems little has changed. The electorate remains deeply divided, political debate polarised, and every political party under intense pressure to define itself simply as either pro-leave or pro-remain.
In the southeast, where Nigel Farage was re-elected as an MEP, the Brexit Party and the Liberal Democrats won more than 60% of the vote between them, taking 7 of the 10 available seats. Our correspondent Duncan Kennedy has spent the day gauging reaction in Southampton.
The merry-go-round in Southampton city centre today didn't set out to be a metaphor for British politics, but it usefully serves as a symbol for the circular direction of the Brexit arguments. Take Lloyd, the man in charge of the ride.
May I ask who you voted for?
Of course you can. Brexit. It's the only vote, isn't it?
Why?
Why? To get out and let's be strong again.
Another couple in the precinct agreed. Here to join a cruise ship in Southampton docks. They're heading to Europe, but staying with Nigel Farage.
People want to leave. The majority of people want to leave.
Why did you support Brexit?
I am a Conservative, and I don't feel they've done the job that I voted for in the referendum.
The Brexit Party won 4 seats in the South East, the Lib Dems 3, whilst the Conservatives, Labour and Greens took 1 each. Remainers here say Britain's 2 main parties just don't grasp the polarised state of the country.
You voted for Change UK.
Yes.
You're a Remainer.
I am.
Why did you go that way?
I don't think anyone else is sorting out Brexit at all at the moment.
Did you go Lib Dem because they are a Remain party?
No, actually I didn't, no. It was more a protest vote against the other 2, I think.
But then there were some here who simply say none of the parties are connecting with the public.
I think no matter what party you vote for at the moment, I think no one really has an idea of what they're doing at all, which is quite sad really, because, I thought everyone was a bit stronger than that, but they're not.
Around 2.5 million people voted in the South East region, but Britain's direction of political travel, like the city centre merry-go-round, still doesn't appear to have a clear end in sight.
The Green Party recorded its best performance since 1989, winning 7 seats in England and Wales and finishing above the Conservatives for the first time in a national election. It topped the poll in Brighton and Hove and also in Bristol, from where our correspondent Sarah Ransom sent this report.
I'm here on the Downs in Bristol, a large area of parkland on the edge of the city, a magnet for families and dog walkers. This university city prides itself on its green credentials. In 2015, it was crowned European Green Capital, and last night the Greens took 35% of the vote here in Bristol. They beat the Brexit Party and sidelined Labour, who performed strongly in the 2014 European elections. The city voted Remain in the EU referendum, and last night's result suggests many people living here don't want that to change, with some voting tactically to get what they wanted.
Normally I would vote Labour, but as somebody who kind of agrees with pro-environmental policy, who believes in social justice policy, to have my vote interpreted as a pro-Remain kind of vote, to me voting the Greens makes most sense in this election.
I voted Lib Dem largely because I would normally vote Labour, but I didn't want my vote to be interpreted as supporting a kind of halfway house Brexit policy. So I decided to vote Lib Dem so it couldn't be misinterpreted.
So it was all about the policy?
It was all about Brexit policy, yeah, in these European elections it was, yeah.
Just a few miles away in the city centre, the message was broadly similar, although some people were disillusioned with politics altogether.
I didn't vote for anything, I just couldn't be bothered. I think the way the country's going now, I just couldn't be bothered with it. Yeah, that's my...
So nobody took your fancy?
No, not at all.
We want to remain in.
And what is it about that makes
Because
you...
we're already losing business and businesses are not thriving, and it's going to affect our whole economy.
The pro-Remain parties are hailing the vote in Bristol as a victory. The light blue of the Brexit party may have dominated elsewhere, but here in this southwest city, the Greens and the Lib Dems believe their strength in numbers shows the start of a resurgence in their popularity.
In Scotland, the SNP saw an increase in support, winning 37% of the vote and 3 MEPs. Labour came fifth, securing a share of less than 10%, meaning it no longer holds any Scottish seats in the European Parliament. From Glasgow, here's our Scotland editor, Sarah Smith.
The SNP ran a campaign that was unambiguously pro-EU. Under the slogan, "Scotland is for Europe, let's say it loud and clear." That was a gamble, as around 1/3 of their supporters voted leave, but it paid off. They won their highest vote yet in an EU election, taking half of the 6 MEP seats in Scotland. The SNP leader Nicola Sturgeon says she's delighted.
My priority is in the short term to protect Scotland from Brexit and to stand up for Scotland's interests, and in the medium to longer term to hopefully persuade the people of Scotland that the best future is to put ourselves in charge of our own destiny so that we can make these decisions for ourselves as an independent country.
Second place in Scotland was taken by the Brexit party, who get 1 MEP, and that shows Scotland is not unanimously pro-EU. The Tory